Hello, welcome. I am your recovery plug, and welcome to When the Smoke Clears. My name is Joel. Um, how's it going, everybody? Well, I know. I don't know if any of you, if I've mentioned it before. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But I am a veteran of the Desert Storm, Persian Gulf War, and I was in the Navy, and I am I am an addict, and which stems from I've been involved in addiction for as long as I could remember. I got started at a young age that I was introduced to alcohol and drugs at a very, very young age. And, I just want to kind of talk to you about how, I guess, I just wanted to share my story as far as traumatic experiences that happened in my childhood that I think ultimately led me to using drugs and or alcohol to cope with and mask different feelings that I was going through as a kid. And as a young kid, I grew up in a family that was involved in alcohol and drugs. Whether it was my father, whether it was my uncles, whether it was my cousins, I was always around that type of environment. And it was more so the males in the family. Never did I ever remember any of the females in my family having a real big issue with the use of alcohol or drugs. But the males in my family that was like all the time. It was like 24/7 of alcohol drinking was always there from morning to sundown. I mean, from as soon as you woke up in the morning till when you're going to bed at night, I can remember someone in my family using alcohol. So, with that, there came, at periodic times with both alcohol and drugs, and then cigarette smoking also. So I was always around that. So to me, as a young child, you see that in your life all day long, every day. It becomes a normal for you. I mean, for you, that's a normal way of life that a man is going to do that, because you see your parents doing it, you see your uncles doing it, you see your siblings, your cousins doing it, your grandparents doing it, and then you go to your friend's house and you see their parents, the same situation. So at a very young age, I was exposed to it, and I was, to be exact, I remember I was in the first grade when I first got introduced to marijuana, and when I could have been probably younger when I first took a sip of alcohol, because I know this for a fact because I could distinctly remember a story that my grandfather, my grandfather from Mexico, that was my dad's dad, he had a story that he would tell everybody, and he'd say, they would call me Joel. It was my name in Spanish, and I'm just gonna say the Spanish the way I would say. I'm gonna say the story in Spanish the way he would have said it, and then I'll translate it in English. So he would say, "Mira, no, yo tenía a Joel que lo tenía así como niño, y yo lo estaba cargando, y pues yo lo tenía aquí, y luego más, y estaba tomando poquito, y luego poquito más, y así agarraba una cerveza yo, y lo tenía, y él lo agarraba, y pues nomás lo tenía así, que lo estaba deteniendo y luego pum, yo creo que se lo estaba tomando más y más y más cada vez. Y luego ya para cuando falta una hora o dos de ese tiempo, nomás me miraba y me abrazaba y me decía, abuelito, yo te quiero mucho. Y dice, no hombre, pues estaba más pedo el niño. And so, you know, what he said is that when I was a kid, that, you know, he would hold me sometimes in his arms and you know, as they were sitting around drinking and whatnot. And, you know, he said that I would grab the beer and, you know, take a little sip here and there. And he goes, well, I guess I didn't realize that he started, you know, taking more sips without me figuring that out. And after a while, he was just like hugging me really tight and just looking at me and saying, Grandpa, I love you so much. And I looked over and I was like, man, this boy's drunk. And so at that particular time, you know, I must have been about 4 or 5 years old, you know what I mean? So alcohol was I was introduced to alcohol at a very, very young age. And I guess as I got older as a kid and older, well, then I started going through these traumatic experiences, excuse me, with my, you know, growing up in a family with a drug addict and alcoholic father. You know, things happen, and the traumatic experiences of that was witnessing my mom getting beat up and witnessing my mom, you know, getting hit and just having to go through these ugly things with my dad. And my dad, I can just remember he was just a violent man when he got drunk. And just, you know, hearing the ugly, chaotic noises was so traumatic that you knew something was wrong and you knew that you couldn't move. You were just in shock. And I can remember holding on to my sisters and my brother, and we're just all kind of like in the room, huddled up in a sense, and just hearing the noise, and we didn't know what to do. And it would finally calm down, and then you would hear, for us, it was always a whistle. There was different whistles that my dad, as a freaking addict, had for each one of the freaking kids. And you knew when it was your whistle. And for me, it was I knew that was my whistle. That was my calling. If I heard that whistle, I better be front and center, or else I was going to get it. So I hear my whistle, and I'm just like freaking out because I'm the one who got called out after the chaotic noises. And my brother and my sisters are looking at me like, dude, go. And I'm like, I don't want to, but I have to. And I would go out there, and, you know, it was just like, he would tell me in Spanish, go get me a beer. And, you know, I would go get the beer, and then my mom, I couldn't see her. She's in the bathroom. She's just under the blankets. It's like laying down. She didn't want nobody to see her face. And then she would have to, you know, get up and cook us some food. And she would always tell us to please, you know, don't make no noise. Just stay here. Don't make a sound, because else my dad would get pissed off. And you know, it was just those types of things that I remember. And then the type of things that when my dad was engaging in family activity, and especially in chore, he always had us working, doing some shit. And I can remember the guy never talked to you. He'd never talk to you to ask you to do something. He would say it maybe one time, like, go wash the car. And then he would go out there after you start washing the car, and then he would grab the water hose, and if he needed you to do something, he'd spray you in the face with the water hose. And he's like, and he'd point over there talking about, you missed a spot here. And he'd shoot you with the freaking water hose in the face, and then point at the spot that he wanted you to wash. So then you get over there and you start washing, and he'd do it again, spray you in the face and point you a different direction. Man, I can remember myself getting so angry that he was doing that, and I hated washing cars. And you know, and then to be doing that in the front yard in front of the rest of the neighborhood was even worse. You know what I mean? Because wasn't gonna tell the dude shit, and I could see my friends there, and then I'm like freaking just all pissed off and halfway crying, trying to wash this freaking big old truck or big old car, and it's just annoying. And finally, the guy, he'll finally the car's done or whatever, and then you know we're like, finally this dude's gone. He is gonna take a nap, or somebody came by. I mean, when people came by, it was like, fuck, finally. I mean, I was always ecstatic when someone came by. If it was his friends, if it was an uncle, I don't care who it was. If somebody came by and it distracted for my dad to have to do something, then I was like, freaking A. And we had a lot of visitors all the time, and my dad was always at, if there was drink involved, and it was on. There was gonna be a barbecue. There was gonna be, he was gonna hang out and do his thing, and I was just happy about that because, I wasn't gonna get all this ugly crap happening to us, and I can remember, my dad going from being this happy person, loving person, to the girls, like to my sisters and to my mom at times. At first in the processes of drinking, and then he would get into this. After a while, there would be this rage mode, and the rage mode always, for some reason, got taken out on my brother. And I can remember my dad always had this I don't know, he didn't like the way my brother was, I guess. I really don't know, but I do know that my brother wound up being a gay man as an adult, right? So I love my brother to death, and I was like, I hated for anybody to fuck with him and to say ugly things to him. So I was always ready to, just freaking jack somebody up, when they would do that. And then when it wanted to be my dad to do ugly stuff to him, man, I would freaking I'd be so freaking mad at myself that I couldn't help him. That, and then I knew something was wrong with him. And something that he was going through something, but I didn't know how to like talk to him about it. And I was just it was just a very, very dark time in my life at that particular moment. And I can remember when a certain family member would come and stay with us, and then things would happen during that stay that was just the memories of those things were just so horrific for me. But I couldn't say anything, and as I got older and I got in, more involved in being that kid who was the one to go get your beer, the beers for my dad and stuff like that all the time. And then when they would he would take off for the night with my uncles or my grandfather, and go out, like they say in Spanish, I'll go out in the pedo, to go out, partying on the all night, on the all-nighters and stuff. I was always stuck, Sometimes my mom or my grandma would push me over that way to say, hey, go with them, just so that there would be a kid that they had to watch over. But my grandfather and my dad, they didn't give a shit. I mean, they were like, come on, and I didn't care either at that time, because I was like, these dudes are getting drunk, they're asking for beers, I'm getting them beers. But the best thing about it was that my grandfather was dishing out $20 bills every time, and I was getting a fat pocket full of money, you know what I mean? So I didn't mind it. But what I do remember is the fact that when I would drink that alcohol, it made me feel different. And it made me, I didn't feel all of that, I guess that sadness and that anger and depression all mixed up in one. I didn't feel that feeling. Then I felt that, man, I was just like, whew. I felt like, God, what a relief that I'm not feeling that I'm just in this other state of mind. And as I got older, I knew that drinking was wrong as a kid, but as I got older, it started getting easier for me to drink it. And when I got introduced to marijuana, it was even better for me. And I mean, for years I would drink and smoke pot. And then I got introduced to LSD while I was in school. And man, that was even, for me, taking the LSD, I would take LSD like on the daily almost, because it made me laugh. You know, I didn't so much hallucinate on the LSD, you know, but it was, for me, I was smiling from ear to ear all day. I would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I couldn't stop sometimes. And that's how the acid made me feel. You know, how it makes other people feel, I have no idea. But for me, it would make me laugh. So there in turn, I felt when I'm laughing that I'm a happy person. So I was like, well, cool. If this is what it's making me feel happy, that's what I want to feel. I don't want to feel sad and depressed and pissed off and just, you know, depressed all the time. I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel, you know, I want to feel excited, like I see all the other kids running around having a good time laughing, you know, because I was always, I wouldn't interact so much until I got into a crowd and I got some friends that would smoke and drink with me. And so that was our thing, you know what I mean, on the daily. I mean, fucking smoking some pot and drinking some beer and, you know, doing acid, man. I was just like, I mean, at a young age, I started doing that. And at a young age, the only way that I could get that was to go either work or go steal. And I did both. And it became easy to do those licks as a kid, because you knew all you had to do was just go do one time and then come back and you're going to get you a lid. Well, we called it a lid, or it was just a 4-finger bag, if you will, of weed and have some sensimilla, and boom. And then, you know, one of our parents, or mainly it was one of our parents, mainly my buddy Pete, him, you know, his mom would always buy us this beer. But she was cool as hell, man. That lady was, I miss them people. They're really cool people. So this is my best friend Pete, and his mom would buy us beer on the weekends, and she's like, as long as y'all stay here and drink, you're good. And so, you know, my dad knew that I smoked weed and that I was drinking beer, but he didn't care. And it was, as a matter of fact, when I got introduced to cocaine at a young age, I got busted by my dad. And instead of my dad telling me that, hey, you know, well, this is wrong and you shouldn't be doing this, or I'm in trouble, you know what he did? I had a 16th of cocaine that I had on the table, that I was breaking out some lines for me and my buddies, and he took that 16th and he laid it out on the table, and he goes, and he says it in Spanish, he goes, if you're gonna do it, you do it like this. And he did the whole 16th in one shot. And then me and my buddies are looking at each other like, what the, you know, what happened to our shit? You know what I mean? Your dad just did it all. And he walks out of the room. And from that day on, I did cocaine just like that. And, you know, people, you know, didn't want to party with me a lot, because, I mean, I was breaking the lines out, and I was like, no, you're going to do it like this. If you're going to party with me, this is how we're going to get it done. And I did. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, it seemed like it was great, but eventually I couldn't stop. And I I mean, I remember doing cocaine from that day on for years. I mean, I did it for years. I even got married, and my wife didn't even know that I did cocaine. It wasn't until I was married already for probably about 14, 15 years when she finally found out that I did that. She didn't know the half she didn't know at all. But I finally, I started just, getting addicted and doing stupid shit, and ultimately, I landed in my second rehab, and it was, the traumatic experiences as a child affects a lot of people, and unfortunately, a lot of people still deal with it today, and the older they get, they still deal with it. And but the reason I bring this up, and the reason I kind of wanted to talk to you about it, was because it was I felt a lot of the times that it was the end of the world. Like, there's this it doesn't get, there's my feelings and the way I feel will never get better. It's just this is the way it is, and I can't do anything about it. And I'm here to tell you that today I understand the world of the disease of I understand having a disease, and I understand now how it was that I couldn't fix it in a sense, but it took me this long to understand that and to figure out a way to make myself and my mind, my brain think differently and do things differently so that I can cope with all of that stuff in a healthy way. Because coping with it in that type of a way of just hurting yourself every single day, obviously it's not healthy. Number one, and it's just not how you want to cope with it, because you'll never get out of that addiction. And but I'm here to let you know that there is a way. That I know there's a way because I've done it, and those are the things that when you go to different meetings or involve yourself in a recovery environment and doing those types of things, whether it's the recovery 12-step programs or faith-based, programs or meetings, and all of that stuff, and all wrapped up into one, is how I personally was able to maintain a life of sobriety and maintain as a functional addict in a life of sobriety and being happy. Because for a long time I functioned as a sober addict, but I wasn't happy because I still felt that stuff was still there, but I just didn't know how to deal with it still. So I would substitute other things that I would put in place of doing the drugs, but it just wasn't satisfying for me. In other words, it was for a little bit for some of the stuff, like exercising. I exercised double exercise in a sense. So I really jumped into that and occupied a lot of my time doing that. But being an addict, I got addicted to it, and then I was spending too much time in the gym, and I was spending too much time doing all of these different types of products that I would start buying just to try them, and I wasn't spending enough time with my family, and I was spending too much time in the gym, and then in turn there, that starts getting a little bit of your well, for me, my wife at the time started getting pissed off because I'm at the gym too much, and who you seeing over there, this and that, just problems like that. And ultimately, I never stopped working out, but I had to find other ways, And when I found other ways to do it, but that meant that I stopped my interaction with the recovery community and I stopped my interaction with my faith-based community. So when I did that, then I got complacent. Then I started, talking myself into like, hey, you know what? You can do it again. It's all right. You've been sober this long. Just, you know what to do. So I would talk myself into doing another, giving it another run in a sense, and thinking that I was going to be able to manage it. And every single time I did that, it always wound up the same way with me crashing and burning, just crashing and burning different ways, and crashing and burning like further and further. Like it was starting getting worse and worse of a crash and burn, if you will. So, I know that I'm more aware of my boundaries. I'm more aware of the pitfalls. I'm more engaged. That it's like I know what to do, and I'm more conscious about it today. That I'm able to act on it, and not just have it a mental thought and then wrestle around with the other mental thoughts and wind up just going back to where I felt comfortable, and that was always using. But by the grace of God and my higher power, that I'm able to be here, sitting here doing a video with you guys and talking to you sober and happy. You know what I mean? That's the cool part. That's where man, I honestly can tell you that I feel comfortable. I feel happy. My body feels better than it has in a long time. And, I'm keeping up my exercise and I'm eating better, and, I'm engaged in my recovery community. I'm engaged in my faith-based community. And that's why I'm doing these podcasts is for, I feel like that's my due diligence, my service work, if you will, for me to give away what I've learned, what I've learned to keep myself in a sober and positive environment. And if I can give that away to somebody, well, then I feel good about that. That helps me stay sober. And so that's all I got today. I wanted to just kind of reach out and touch on, give you a little bit about where I'm at today and that sort of thing, and a little bit of background on me. And that's not all the background, but I'll save those stories for another cast. And but I always like to give a shout out to places that I've gone, that people that are there to help, and I always give out my email at the end of the show. So if you need someone to talk to, you know someone who maybe needs some help and you just don't know where to go, what to do, shoot me an email at joelscorpflow@gmail.com. That's JOELSCORPFLO@gmail.com. And I'll do what I can to help. And if I can't help myself, or in that sense, then I can navigate you to some numbers and to some people and some programs that help me along the way. So so if you would, please hit that like button, the bell button, shoot a comment or whatever, give me a thumbs up. And another thing, if you're in the city of San Antonio, Texas, this is where I live, the Goliad group down in the southeast side of town, the Esperanza group down in the downtown west side of San Antonio, the Winners Club in the north central side of town, and the Club 12 down in the north central side of town are all great freaking places. They have meetings there, NAAA, great people out that way. If you need some help, go to those locations. Someone will be there to greet you. Just sit in on a meeting and hear somebody out. And maybe it'll be something that you resonate with. Maybe it'll be something that will show you the light to that first rung on that ladder to get you out of that dark, deep hole of despair and addiction that you've been trying to get out of for years. Or maybe you just know somebody who may need help. So if you would, please attend one of those places. And Again, if nobody hasn't told you that they love you or that they care, but hey, Ann, you know what? I love you and I care what happens to you. And if my videos and my words are able to domino effect out into the community and help somebody, well then I hope they do, and I just pray that they do. So again, thank you for watching me and in my podcast and my listening to my stories. Again, I'm the recovery plug at When the Smoke Clears. We'll see you next time. Thank you.